It's now been 10 years after the defeat of Kid Buu, as Trunks was on his way to visit Gohan. He was looking for Goten, but he was out in the back training. To his surprise, Gohan tells him that Kale is back there as well, along with Vegeta and Bulma. Kale was only there since Goten asked her to be his training partner for the day, which she was glad to help. Though, she brought Broly with her too, so that they could train together. While they were taking a break from training, Kale and Vegeta were discussing the upcoming 28th World Martial Arts Tournament. Even though Kale doesn't enjoy fighting that much, she only decided to join it because Goten asked her to, since that's what he is training for. Trunks came flying in and asked Goten if he was joining the tournament, which after finding out he was, Vegeta made Trunks join the tournament too. Pan then came flying in as well, as she said she just got back from flying around the world. Since Goku is dead in this timeline, Pan was inspired to fight by Kale instead, so Kale has been the one training her. Even Pan was getting to fight in the tournament, which shocked both Bulma and Trunks. Though, this motivated Vegeta to decide to join the tournament as well. Vegeta and Kale also convinced Broly to join, since over the years of training with Kale and Vegeta, he managed to control his anger for the most part. When the day of the tournament arrived, Kale and 18 arrived together, since 18 was still the current champion. She only kept participating in them so that she could continue to get the prize money, though 18 got all their friends and family good seats to watch the tournament. Also, since Hercule lost back in the 25th tournament, the tournament never changed to where the winner of the bracket went against the previous champion. Since 18 wouldn't have needed to rig the tournament so she could win, it still works where she must fight her way through the bracket just like everyone else. To their surprise, some of the other Z fighters also joined the tournament. These fighters had also decided to join the tournament were Krillin, Yamcha, and Master Roshi. Since Yamcha kept fighting in this timeline, he decided to join, and he managed to convince the other two to join as well, for old time's sake. Unfortunately, he couldn't find Tien, as no one had seen him since the Buu saga, so the 16th fighter is Bola, since in this timeline, she would have trained as well. Since she is roughly the same age as Pan, it's likely the two would have hung out together. When Pan started to train, that likely would have motivated Bola to train too, so they would not only play together, but also be training partners. Before the preliminaries began, they put the usual limitation on themselves, that they can't transform. However, since Kale and 18 can heal themselves with the Yardratian healing technique, they also made that a self-imposed limitation, so that everyone can have a fair fight. In the preliminaries, there aren't many major matches, except for one. The previous world champion, Hercule, came back to try and regain his title. Since he lost the title before, he tried to train afterwards. However, it didn't help much, since when he was matched up against his granddaughter, Pan, he was easily defeated. Anyway, for this tournament, I used a random number generator to decide the fights, since this tournament wouldn't work like the one in the actual timeline at all. So, the matches for the Octo-finals of the tournament are as follows. Match 1 is 18 vs Nareg, Match 2 is Master Roshi vs Krillin, Match 3 is Nock vs Yamcha, Match 4 is Captain Chicken vs Wild Tiger, Match 5 is Octo-Kisuke vs Broly, Match 6 is Vegeta vs Kale, Match 7 is Pan vs Bola, and Match 8 is Trunks vs Goten. In the first match, which is between 18 and Nareg, she would easily knock him out of the ring. The second match is in between Master Roshi and Krillin, so they both enter the ring. In a fight between these two, Krillin would be stronger, but Roshi would rely on using the vast number of techniques he knows. Their fight would probably be like their original fight in the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, but when he tried to use the afterimage to trick Krillin, it wouldn't work this time around. They'd end the fight with a beam struggle, as they both used the Kamehameha, but Krillin's would manage to overpower Roshi's. This would knock Roshi out of the ring, making Krillin the winner. The third match is between Nock and Yamcha, but Yamcha would easily knock him out of the ring with one punch. This brings us to the fourth match, which is between Captain Chicken and Wild Tiger. We aren't given a lot of statements about the power of these two fighters, so it was hard for me to decide who the winner would be. Eventually, I just decided that Wild Tiger would be the winner, because a tiger would beat a chicken. Then for the fifth match, it's between Octo-Kisuke and Broly. Octo-Kisuke would likely try to flirt with Broly like how he tried to flirt with Trunks, but with how clueless and innocent Broly is, this would just go over his head. So, he would quickly knock Octo-Kisuke out of the ring by punching him. The sixth match is between Vegeta and Kale, so they would both enter the ring. Much like their last fight, it would be a long and drawn out fight. A lot of the audience would get bored when watching this fight, so they would have fallen asleep. Even the announcer would have fallen asleep while watching their fight. Though unlike their last fight, Kale would be the one to knock Vegeta down with a punch at the end. The sound of Vegeta hitting the ground would be what wakes the announcer up, as he then declares Kale the winner of the match. Next is the seventh match, which is between Pan and Bola. For this fight, it would be a close one, as the two of them are extremely close in power. However, Pan would be slightly stronger, since she was trained by people like Gohan, Piccolo, Kale, and 18, while Bola mostly just trained with Vegeta and Trunks. But since the two trained together a lot, they had a friendly rivalry with each other. Regardless, this fight would end with Pan kicking Bola out of the ring. After the match ends, Pan would thank her for a good fight, though Bola vows that she'll win in their next fight. Then for the eighth and final match of the Octo-finals, it is between Trunks Trunks and Goten. These two both haven't trained a lot recently, but as we've seen at the beginning of this part, they still trained occasionally. So, their power levels likely would be close to each other, which would make this another close fight. It would likely be like their fight in the Buu saga, but neither of them would turn Super Saiyan in the match like they did back then. By the end of their fight, since it would be a long and drawn out fight too, they both would be exhausted. However, since Trunks is slightly stronger than Goten, he manages to get the win. This makes the matches in the quarterfinals as follows. Match 9 is 18 vs Krillin, Match 10 is Yamcha vs Wild Tiger, Match 11 is Broly vs Kale, and Match 12 is Pan vs Trunks. Since the 9th match is between Krillin and 18, they would both enter the ring. These two would be close friends in this timeline, as over time, their relationship grew stronger. Since Krillin had a thing for Kale in this timeline, he didn't come around to 18 or Kale that much at the beginning. Though after Kale and Krillin reconciled and became friends again, Krillin started to come around more. Krillin coming around like this would have also caused him to develop a close friendship with 18 as well. So, their fight would be a friendly one, but unfortunately for Krillin, it wouldn't be a close fight. 18's power would be immensely higher than his, and since she also has infinite stamina, he wouldn't be able to wear her down. While he would give this fight his all, he's eventually knocked out of the ring by her infinity bullet. The 10th match is between Yamcha and Wild Tiger, but this match wouldn't last long, as Yamcha would quickly kick Wild Tiger out of the ring. Next is the 11th match, which is between Broly and Kale. Since Broly was trained by Kale, he would have better control over his anger. Though he doesn't have perfect control just yet, since he will rarely slip into fits of anger, though he is close to gaining complete control over it, this fight would be another long one since both Kale and Broly's power continuously grows. This means that this fight would likely be longer than Kale and Vegeta's, so both the audience and the announcer would likely get bored and fall asleep again. Regardless, since Kale has perfect control over her power and Broly doesn't yet, she would gain the advantage in the fight and knock him out of the ring. Again, the sound of Broly hitting the ground would be what wakes the announcer up, so Kale is announced the winner. Next is the 12th match, which is the last match of the quarterfinals, and it is between Pan and Trunks. Since Kale and Broly's fight took so long, Trunks had the chance to rest a little before his match. So, while he isn't completely exhausted anymore, he is still worn out. Pan, on the other hand, didn't get that exhausted during her previous fight. Once this fight begins, she would be knocking Trunks around easily. Though he would get some hits in, it wouldn't be a lot since he is worn out. Pan wouldn't give him the time to gain the advantage, as she would push him to the edge and kick him out of the ring. Since Trunks lost, Vegeta would berate him for losing to a kid. This makes the matches in the semifinals as follows. Match 13 is 18 vs Yamcha, and match 14 is Kale vs Pan. With the 13th match being between 18 and Yamcha, the two of them would enter the ring. This fight would be like her fight with Krillin, as he wouldn't stand much of a chance. Even though they aren't as close of friends as she is with Krillin, it would still be a friendly match. Regardless, during their fight, he would try using techniques like the Wolf Fang Fist, Spirit Ball, and the Kamehameha. Though 18 would be able to counter them all, as she then knocks him out of the ring with her energy cannon. The 14th and last match of the semifinals is between Kale and Pan, which, Kale is worn out from her last two fights, but that worked in her favor, as she planned to hold back somewhat so that she could test Pan's power. They would be going blow for blow with each other, and even as Kale's power continuously grows, Pan would still be keeping up with her. This would surprise her, so she would congratulate Pan for coming this far. She then offers Pan to train with her after this tournament, as she will step up her training so that she will become the one to protect the Earth in the future. Pan would likely agree to this, so they then went back to fighting, but Kale would gently knock her out of the ring. After the fight, Kale congratulates Pan on the good fight. Unlike what Goku did with Oob, Kale wouldn't take off with Pan to train, as she would be able to stay home and train Pan there, like she already has been doing. Regardless, since Kale won that fight, this makes the 15th and final match 18 vs Kale. Even though Kale won her last fight, Pan still got some good hits in, so she is completely exhausted when she enters the ring. Which, this is fine with her, as she likely would have purposely lost to let 18 keep her title as champion anyway. That doesn't mean she wouldn't have given 18 a good fight, so even though she's exhausted, she gives the fight her all. It wouldn't last nearly as long as her fights with Vegeta and Broly did, but it would still take a little bit. Eventually, however, her stamina completely runs out, so 18 lightly knocks her out of the ring. This means 18 won again, so she got to keep her championship title. After 18 is announced the winner, she uses the Yardratty and healing technique to heal Kale. After sharing an embrace, she and 18 would go get Pan, as they then took off to go start her training.